no beef with Eminem. Ain't no rapper popping nothing about Eminem. Ain't nobody saying nothing. I'm not even gonna say nothing bad about Eminem.
Whoever you feel like is the best black artist, and stand him face to face in a room with him, and he'll eat that alive.
Eminem was that one rapper nobody wanted to mess with, not even Will Smith. So, when Will marched up on stage and slapped Chris Rock at the 2022 Oscars, the whole world was in shock. But real ones started asking, would he have dared to pull that move on Eminem? Because believe it or not, way back in the early 2000s, something almost popped off between them. And what went down next is something Will probably still regrets. See, Eminem wasn't just some wild white dude rapping for fame. He came straight out of Detroit's roughest corners. This man had stared down Suge Knight himself and lived to tell the tale. That's not just tough, that's legendary. Keep watching. This rabbit hole gets real deep long before that infamous slap, before the Oscars even mattered to most people. Back when Will Smith still had that squeaky clean image, he was the guy. In the late 90s, while Bill Clinton was still in the White House and MTV ruled everything cool, Will was running the game, not just on TV, but everywhere. He flipped his goofy Fresh Prince charm into full-on Hollywood dominance with blockbusters like Men in Black and Independence Day. And let's not forget, he did something no other rapper had pulled off. Will went multi-platinum, clean as a whistle. No profanity, no scandals, just straight success. His 1997 solo debut, Big Willie Style, crushed it with over 10 million copies sold worldwide. Then came Millennium in '99, a monster hit that scored him another Grammy. Will was proof you didn't have to be hardcore or violent to dominate the charts, and best believe he knew it. So when Will Smith stood on stage at the 42nd Annual Grammy Awards in February 2000 and proudly said, "I've never used profanity in my records. Rap doesn't need to be filled with curses to succeed," the crowd clapped it up. But behind the scenes, not everybody was impressed, because way over in Detroit, something was bubbling, and it wasn't pretty. That same year, a 26-year-old Marshall Mathers, better known as Eminem, had just dropped the Slim Shady LP. It was a wild, bloody roller coaster full of twisted lyrics, chaos, and raw pain. This album wasn't trying to be clean or friendly. It was loud, messed up, and real to the core. Slim Shady wasn't some sugar-coated version of hip-hop. He was the darker side of reality, born from poverty, drugs, and straight-up rage. Eminem was the total opposite of Will Smith, unfiltered, dangerous, unpredictable. So when he heard Will's comment about not needing curses to make it big, that hit him hard. To M, it wasn't just a general statement. It felt personal, like a shot aimed at artists like him, ones who didn't have sitcoms or blockbuster movies to boost their careers, artists who had to pour their trauma into bars just to be noticed.
Suge Knight showed up with the crew of Mexicans.
Fuck yeah, and I was there with the homies.
Eminem was there. Eminem was ready to go.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So in 2000, when Eminem dropped the real Slim Shady, he clapped back, hard. Right in the middle of that iconic beat, he spit, "Will Smith don't got an S in his raps to sell records. Well, I do. So F him and F you too." It was savage. It was loud. It shook the whole game. Radio stations scrambled to censor it. Parents complained. But young fans, they loved it, rapping it word for word in school halls and playgrounds. That bar wasn't just a diss. It was a full-blown shot at the polished, family-friendly image of rap that Will Smith had come to represent. And that bar from Eminem, it sent a loud, clear message. He wasn't here to play nice. But here's where things get even deeper. That shot at Will Smith, it wasn't just about keeping it clean or dirty. It was about power, about cred, about who really earned a seat at the top of hip-hop in the 2000s. While Will was out there flying first class to movie sets and posing on red carpets, Eminem was locked in survival mode, facing lawsuits, dodging threats, battling addiction, and getting censored left and right. He wasn't just making music, he was fighting through it all. And unlike Will, M didn't care about playing by the rules. The Grammys, popularity, that wasn't his goal. All he wanted was respect.
Will Smith. And
I never
nobody in none of my records. I don't use no profanity in none of my records, and still I managed to get up here.
I respect him for saying his opinion, but not everybody is as happy as Will Smith. So if he sees life about birds and bees and wants to rap about flowers, then let him rap about birds and bees and flowers. But don't diss nobody else. Felt like he was taking a stab at me and Ray and anybody who uses profanity on a record to express themselves.
This by Eminem, but did it bother him? Yep, I'm a nice guy. Why y'all harassing me, huh?
Hip-hop songs that really irritate me right now, what's that Will Smith record?
If you feel strong enough about something, then you might put a little before you say exactly what you're saying.
And with that one line, that lyrical sneak attack, M sparked something darker. People started whispering, was Will Smith actually scared of Eminem? And more than that, what if they ever came face to face? See, to Hollywood, Eminem looked like a joke at first. Just some loudmouth white boy with bleached hair screaming into a mic. A walking controversy. Will, like many, thought he was just another shock rapper who'd crash and fade. But behind the scenes, that couldn't be further from the truth. By 1999, in the streets of Detroit, Eminem wasn't riding on fame. He was backed by something real. His day one, Deshaun "Proof" Holton, wasn't just a childhood friend. Proof was respected in the gritty East Side scene, a battle rap legend and the leader of D12, a group that didn't just bring bars, they brought real street weight. Proof wasn't just a hype man, he was the one making sure M was protected and taken seriously in rooms where fame didn't mean anything. Proof wasn't just Eminem's friend, he was his muscle, his street guide, and the one who gave him real credibility. When M stepped into dangerous circles, Proof was the reason he made it out in one piece. In a city where being in the wrong place with the wrong face could end your career, or worse, Proof made sure Eminem was untouchable in Detroit. But M's influence didn't stop in his city. In 1998, Dr. Dre made the ultimate power move. He signed Eminem to Aftermath Entertainment. That deal changed the game. Dre, already a legend from his NWA and Death Row days, found himself a brand new weapon, and with Dre's beats, business ties, and industry clout, Eminem blew up from local fire starter to nationwide problem. Meanwhile, Will Smith had no clue what was building behind the scenes. Underneath M's wild, cartoonish image was a strategic force. A man becoming one of the most connected and protected artists in the industry. By 2000, M wasn't just rapping about problems, he was living them. That summer, he got arrested for pistol whipping a guy outside Hot Rock Sports Bar in Warren, Michigan. Yeah, it was real. He wasn't acting tough for a camera. He was moving through actual beef, both on the mic and off it. Then in 2002, the empire grew. A mixtape king from Queens named Curtis 50 Cent Jackson signed a joint deal with Eminem's Shady Records and Dre's Aftermath. 50 had already survived 9 gunshots, got dropped by Columbia Records, and was blackballed by major labels for being too dangerous. This wasn't just music anymore. This was a takeover, and it had the streets shook. Eminem brought 50 Cent in anyway, and with Dre's money and Interscope's firepower, they built a straight-up machine. G-Unit, Shady Records, and Aftermath turned into a triangle of power that could either end your career or protect their own with scary precision. So when Eminem barked on a track, it wasn't just him talking. Behind every bar stood Dr. Dre, 50 Cent, Proof, D12, Jimmy Iovine, and a full squad of lawyers, hitters, and behind-the-scenes masterminds. This wasn't just music, it was strategy on a whole other level. But Eminem's real test of fearlessness didn't come in a studio. It came in the shadows of Death Row. Suge Knight, the infamous co-founder of Death Row Records, wasn't just a name, he was a threat. Known for his ties to the Bloods and a brutal reputation, Suge had the industry shook in the early 2000s. Even major execs didn't want to be in the same room as him. But M, he didn't blink. According to Compton rapper The Game, one night Suge and his crew pulled up. Lights low, the vibe turned cold, and Suge came in uninvited, rolling deep with his usual muscle. People panicked. Some left the room, others stayed quiet. But Eminem, he stood his ground, ready to throw hands if it came to that. And 50, who wasn't new to the streets himself, was right there, backing him up.
Oh, wow.
That moment meant something. Suge Knight built his empire by making people fear him, but here was this white boy from Detroit who didn't just talk tough. He had the mindset, the crew, and the guts to prove it. And here's the twist. Most fans thought Eminem's security was just some average bodyguards, but nah, it ran way deeper than that. Most people thought Eminem's security was just some guys hired to guard him at shows or red carpets. But according to folks close to the streets, there was way more to it. Word is, Eminem had ties to Samoan gangs in Los Angeles. Not your average security team, these were fighters, loyal and tough, known for having each other's backs no matter what. Some say M was paying for protection, maybe. But this wasn't just security. This was muscle with a reputation. They were called the Samoan Army, and they'd been making noise in South Central LA since the 90s. Built like tanks, loyal to the core, and not afraid to throw down, they made sure M was untouchable in more ways than one. Meanwhile, Will Smith, he was playing in a whole different league. By 2001, he was starring in Ellie, hosting major award shows, shaking hands with diplomats, and posing for pics with presidents. His image was squeaky clean, his moves calculated through agents, publicists, and billion-dollar studios. So when Eminem fired shots at him in a track, Will stayed quiet, and honestly, silence was the smartest move. By that point, beefing with M wasn't just some rap battle, it was like poking a machine. A machine backed by Dre's sharp business moves, proof street presence, and 50 Cent's rising empire. M was no longer just a rapper, he was a fortress with serious backup. Will Smith knew that, because this wasn't just about clever lyrics anymore, it was about who had real power behind their words, and who didn't. To the public, Will's Grammy speech sounded innocent, just a clean-cut artist promoting positivity in a genre often accused of glorifying violence. The media cheered, parents loved it, but behind the scenes, things were heating up fast. Eminem wasn't smiling. Sources close to Interscope and Aftermath would later say M took that comment personally, like it was aimed right at him. This wasn't just about clean lyrics, it was about control. It was the quiet battle between two worlds of hip-hop. One dressed up for primetime TV and the other dragged out of the mud, raw and unapologetic. And in Eminem's eyes, Will Smith wasn't just talking for himself, he was speaking for the whole machine behind him. Hollywood studio bosses, award show gatekeepers, late night hosts, label execs, all the folks who never wanted someone like Eminem sitting at their table. By mid-2000, M was feeling the pressure hard. Behind the scenes, he was being watched from every angle. His bars were being picked apart by FCC watchdogs and parental boards. His videos got chopped down. Talk shows didn't want him performing unless he was censored. Lawsuits were hitting from all directions. His mom, his ex, even random people who didn't like what he said in songs. He felt boxed in, under attack. So when Will dropped that no profanity line at the Grammys in February 2000, right as Eminem's Slim Shady LP was blowing up, it felt like a setup. To M, it was like the industry had chosen Will, the safe, smiling, camera-ready figure, to be their polite hitman, the clean-cut face sent to publicly undermine him without throwing a punch. And M, he answered the only way he knew how, through bars. Just 3 months later, in May 2000, he dropped The Real Slim Shady, a wild, sarcastic, explosive single from the Marshall Mathers LP with Dre behind the boards. And right there in the middle, that infamous line, Will Smith don't gotta cuss in his raps to sell records. Well, I do, so F him and F you too. No metaphors, no coded shots. It was direct and in your face. The whole world heard it. Radio tried to censor it, schools banned it, but fans ate it up. By June 2000, The Real Slim Shady hit #1 on the UK singles chart and stormed into the US charts like a wrecking ball. #5 on the Billboard Hot 100. MTV had The Real Slim Shady on heavy rotation. Eminem had officially gone global, and his target, clear as day. Meanwhile, Will Smith's album Millennium, which dropped just 6 months earlier in November 1999, was already slipping off the charts. Even with decent sales and the single Will 2K, it couldn't keep up with the cultural wave M was riding. Then came the whispers. Word in the industry says that right after Eminem's track dropped, there was a closed-door meeting, either at Sony Music or Columbia Pictures. And Will, he was told to back off. No clapback, no diss track, no interviews, just silence. And one rumor points straight at Dr. Director, allegedly, Dre, who had solid ties in Hollywood and had worked with folks close to Will, gave a personal heads up. Leave it alone. Some say the warning was calm and professional. Others say it was a little more serious. But whatever the tone, the outcome was loud and clear. Will Smith never said another word about Eminem. Not in interviews, not in lyrics, not even in passing. Nothing. Will pivoted. He locked in on films. In 2001, he dropped Alley. Then came Men in Black 2 in 2002 and Bad Boys 2 in 2003. His rap career, that became background noise. Meanwhile, Eminem, he came in swinging. The Marshall Mathers LP dropped in May 2000 and sold a wild 1.76 million copies in its first week. That record held strong for over a decade. But behind the red carpets and flashing lights, the tension never really faded. The BET Awards, MTV Movie Awards, Grammy pre-parties. Both stars showed up, but never spoke. No greetings, no eye contact, and fans plus body language experts, they noticed. No handshakes, no acknowledgement, just two giants in the same room, pretending the other didn't exist. No eye contact, no nods, nothing. Eminem, usually rolling with Proof or 50 Cent, kept his distance. Will Smith, always flanked by publicists or family, did the same. Word from Hollywood insiders? Event planners had to stagger their arrivals or seat them far apart just in case something was said that couldn't be taken back. Cause by then, the dynamic had shifted. Will might have still been the fan favorite, polished superstar, and Eminem the wild, foul-mouthed rebel. But the power? That was leaning toward him. By 2002, Eminem wasn't just dropping records. He was stepping into Hollywood. 8 Mile was in the works. Studios were chasing him. And behind him, Dre, Jimmy Iovine, and a surging 50 Cent were forming an untouchable triangle. M wasn't just surviving in the game anymore, he was rewriting the rules. Will Smith, he knew the system better than most, and he wasn't about to spark a war where he couldn't control the fallout. So, the silence stayed, ice cold. It lasted for years. But while fans assumed the drama was dead and gone, the truth is, it just went quiet. That tension, it never really disappeared. It just slipped into the shadows, lying low, waiting. Because in Hollywood, not all beef ends with a diss track. Sometimes it waits until the timing is perfect. By the early 2000s, Eminem wasn't just the loud white rapper stirring up headlines. He was moving like a commander, calculated, strategic, always guarded. To the public, he was still the edgy entertainer, but those in the streets and behind the scenes started to see the truth. Eminem had become something else. Eminem wasn't just talking tough on records, he was ready for the smoke. In 2003, whispers started flying that some Crip-affiliated sets in South Central LA wanted M to check in before stepping into their turf for filming or shows. And in the streets, check in ain't no polite gesture, it's a demand for respect. Most artists either dodge it or send someone else to handle the talk. Now, I don't know every detail, but one thing's clear. Some calls were made, and Eminem still showed up, not scared, not hiding, and not alone. He rolled in with protection most people had no clue even existed. Sources tied to Aftermath Entertainment say Eminem wasn't out here moving with just guys in suits and earpieces. His real security in LA came from Dr. Dre's circle, including a feared Samoan set rumored to be Dre's low-key muscle. These were the same men who once guarded Death Row Records during the Suge Knight chaos. They knew what real street heat looked like, and they stood ready. Their loyalty to Dre automatically extended to M, his top priority. But M wasn't just leaning on Dre. Back home in Detroit, he had his own ground game. His right-hand man, Proof, frontman of D12, was more than just a hype man. He handled threats, managed shady situations, and kept hangers-on in check. Proof had pull in the 313. He was the shield when things got messy. And out in New York, Eminem had locked in with 50 Cent, who was already certified in the streets before Get Rich or Die Trying dropped in 2003. With 50 came G-Unit, a crew from Southside Queens who'd already made it through real shootouts. Together, they built a coast-to-coast alliance under Shady/Aftermath. Insiders even say Eminem personally funded parts of 50's early grind, his tours, promo, and even the muscle that moved with him. This wasn't just a record label, it was a street-backed empire. There were no official records, no contracts, no headlines, but in a 2003 Hot 97 interview, 50 Cent made it crystal clear. Eminem believed in me when nobody else did. He didn't just rap with me, he protected me. After that, M stopped moving alone. Whether it was an award show in LA, a wild party in Miami, or a media stop in Chicago, his movements were layered. Private security, of course, but mixed in were street-connected allies, real ones. M had watched what happened to Tupac. He saw what fame mixed with street pressure could do when you didn't have the right structure. So he adjusted. He moved smarter. By 2004, his label wasn't just a brand, it was a fortress. That year, during a show in LA, word got out that a known West Coast gang made their way backstage. Maybe they were testing him, maybe not. But witnesses say they left real quiet after getting met not just by event security, but Dre's Samoan hitters and Detroit muscle flown in specifically for that night. Eminem wasn't an easy target. He had built solid alliances in all three of hip-hop's toughest cities, Detroit, New York, and LA, and he moved like someone ready for real war, not just studio beef. Even his songs told the story. Tracks like White America, Till I Collapse, and Like Toy Soldiers were packed with metaphors. Betrayal, paranoia, surveillance, and the weight of being a leader while others plot your fall. His fear? It wasn't an act. It was real. It was survival. Will Smith, protected by agents and billion-dollar studios, likely never had to play in this kind of world. But Eminem, he thrived in it. By 2005, people were still arguing. Was Eminem just an intense artist or something deeper? But anyone who had crossed him, rappers, execs, or even street figures, already knew the answer. Eminem didn't just rap about pulling up, he actually did it with backup you never saw coming. So why did Will Smith speak on Eminem in the first place? Some say it was jealousy. Others believe Hollywood pressured him, telling him to help clean up hip-hop and protect his polished image. But here's where it backfired, badly. Eminem made Will look outdated. He made that whole clean-cut, friendly approach seem soft, and even worse, he peeled back the smile and exposed what looked like fear hiding underneath it. When Eminem hit the Grammys wearing a Free Yayo shirt, it wasn't for TV ratings. It was a message aimed straight at the streets, not the suburbs. The internet lit up. People started asking, would Will Smith ever slap Eminem like he did Chris Rock? And the answer? Almost everyone agreed. No way. Even though M's older now, the stories from the early 2000s still follow him. He was wild, unpredictable, and had a mean streak. Some insiders even say he once chased down a Detroit DJ who wouldn't spin his tracks, allegedly with a weapon in hand. No charges, no evidence, but the whispers never stopped. Eminem wasn't acting like a character, he was the character. After that feud, Will never bounced back as a rapper. His later albums dropped with barely any buzz. Meanwhile, Eminem released The Eminem Show, one of the biggest albums of the decade. Some fans believe Dre pushed M even harder after the Will Smith situation. Nothing's confirmed, but the way things played out, it sure looked personal. Eminem took that comment, flipped it into a hit, and buried Will musically. And according to insiders, Will later told close friends he underestimated Eminem. After that Oscars slap, some folks even joked, maybe that wasn't about Chris Rock at all. Maybe that was Will finally letting out 20 years of bottled up frustration at the wrong target. Today, Eminem's a Hall of Famer. Will Smith, he's got an Oscar, but his name still trends for all the wrong reasons. And it all traces back to one moment, one comment made in 1999 about the wrong white rapper. Eminem never had to clap back twice. That one line in The Real Slim Shady said it all. Will never responded, because deep down, he knew. M wasn't just the better rapper, he was the kind of guy you didn't want to test off the mic either. Some beefs burn out fast. Others live in silence for decades. This one, it ended before it even began. Because when it comes to Eminem, sometimes one bar is all it takes to shut the whole thing down. And for Will Smith, that line didn't just hit. It echoed like a warning shot that never stopped ringing. If you made it this far, make sure to like, comment, and share this video with someone who remembers the real Slim Shady era. And don't forget to subscribe for more wild stories, rap history, and the drama they don't teach you on TV. Let us know in the comments who really won this silent war.